Folks, we are on the explosion of technology. We're talking about this unique time in history. I feel it. Katie feels that we were just talking pre-show. But you are on the front cutting edge of patents, and you're seeing that even a year ago. Talk to us about the energy, the feel, the mood a year ago compared to like right now.
Sure. I think a year ago, these large language models like ChatGPT were just kind of getting mainstream. And now I feel like a year later, the people and the companies who aren't finding ways to integrate AI into their business or their life, they've fallen behind. And they're really kind of starting to miss the boat on that one because there are ways these tools can be used to make us work, smarter and not harder. And so I think it's really catching on big time here.
I agree. Couple quick things. We were talking headlines. One headline is this Shopify that basically came out yesterday. The CEO says, we're not going to hire anyone new until the current employees can justify that AI cannot do what the hire is supposed to do. So they've essentially put on a hiring freeze and said, if AI can do it first, we're not hiring. What do you think that does, Katie? Because I asked my class this at Cedarville University yesterday, and the opinions were very mixed. But what do you think is good about that? And what do you think is potentially negative about that?
Yeah, I think it definitely will spur on a lot of innovation because it will lead to a lot of creation of new ideas, right, and new technology to fill in the gaps, especially a lot of tasks that humans, it takes a long time to complete, but if it could be automated, it could go much quicker. And I think so that's one area. I think, on the downside, nobody wants to really hear about these hiring freezes because I think the job market is pretty tough right now, especially if you're, say, a new grad, right?
Yeah.
It's going to be hard. How do you break into a market like that? And how do you distinguish yourself and your skills from that of a computer? That's hard. That's a hard sell too. So I think it's going to take a bit of positioning yourself for the right roles and being able to, communicate the skills you can offer that a computer can't obviously offer.
Yeah. Well, I'm really, we were talking pre-show, but this summer I'm doing two things. I'm jumping into instant IP all in. We started this instant IP advisors where we're training people to essentially almost like set people up for you. So I think you'll have a faster, better experience with individuals, but we're essentially going in and really helping them organize their IP first, timestamp it, and then come to you when it's all essentially not in drawers and notepads and note cards and all this stuff. But the other thing I'm jumping into big time is AI. And a lot of these companies are creating college doctorate level AI classes for free because they know, kind of like what we were talking about, the more people that onboard onto the platform of AI, the more valuable it becomes. And so a lot of these companies making these chips and stuff, they want people to know how to use AI.
Oh, yeah. I think it's going to become essential, right? It's sort of like when the telephone was introduced. At first, it seems like this weird tech of who has that, how do we know how to use it? But once you start to put it in your home, in your office, you realize how much more efficient you can be with it. And it's not, that these tools are going to just replace all of our jobs, but they can be used to kind of augment our jobs and allow us to maybe free up and focus on things that we're as humans are better adapted to do, and other things that are more tedious, time consuming, the computer can really accelerate those components of it.
Yeah, I think it's Peter Diamandis or Evan Ryan that say the 3 Ds that AI are going to free up: the dull jobs, the dirty jobs, like, robotics and AI just literally going to free people up. So there's dull, there's dirty, and I'll have to think of the third one. I don't know. I'll think of it here in a moment, but I was teaching it yesterday on the board. I can't picture it in my head, but I'll get back to it. But I think that basically it's going to free people up, though, so that only the human part, like, think about it. If 80% of your day is doing repetitive work, it was dangerous. It was dangerous, dull, or dirty. AI and robotics. That's what they're going to free people up. But if it's A, saving lives, B, removing the dull, we all see that every day. Like, your brain goes into decision fatigue just by so many decisions that our ancestors didn't have to deal with. This is interesting. The average amount of food choices that we have to make, Katie, do you want to take a guess on a daily basis what it is, food choices?
Oh gosh, I heard something about this on the Mel Robbins podcast, and I watched something astonishing, like thousands of choices.
Yeah. So Cornell University did a study, and they a few years ago, and they, because again, I just came from Smoothie King, and the amount of choices that I had to decide, it was like, am I getting? And they even try to help you out. They're like, meal replacement, immunity, fit, and something. They try to like bracket it because your brain has so many. And then you're like, do I want enhancers? Like, think about that. Back on the farm, it was like, do you want eggs or eggs?
Yeah.
you want scrambled or sunny side up? So the average person today makes 226 food decisions a day. And I'm not even saying consciously, but just subconsciously.
Right.
You walk down the aisle of the grocery store and it's like, I want granola. Well, what kind? Do you want keto? Do you want gluten-free? Do you want, Nature Valley? I mean, so the brain gets so locked into all these dumb decisions that we aren't freed up to make the creative decisions. You see what I'm saying?
Well, I love that idea. It's so true. And it's taxing too, because then all of your energy is kind of used for those decisions, those silly ones that then when you do want to go put that creativity brain on,
yes,
it's harder to get into that mindset and that mode.
100%. So Sarah and I were trying to solve a problem the other day with, one area of our publishing company. And I kind of looked at her and she looked at me, and I'm like, this is dumb. I'm like, why are we spending our time solving this? And I said, here's the quick solve. Like, we have an audiobook producer. Let's connect him. And that's it. And so we solved it by finding the right who, Dan Sullivan talks about. But it's like, I knew that I did not want to spend, a tenth of my brain that day solving something that isn't even my responsibility.
Right. And I feel like too, it's also a lot of it too is just information overload too, where we're exposed to so many stimuli.
Oh yeah.
Every day that also, it leads into that decision fatigue too, because you're just, the phones are buzzing nonstop with news updates, and your email is going nuts, and it's just nonstop interrogation on our brains too, that leads to this crisis as well.
And I think people need to set up, like we say, boundaries. And I think what IP protection really is a boundary. It's a fence. But, quick example, somebody pings me, an old client nothing wrong with her, but like we've moved on. We don't serve that type of client anymore with those types of needs. So she wanted to meet, and I said, I did the old Dan Sullivan. I said, you know, here's an impact filter. Please complete it. And I have a cool little video, so I don't sound like a jerk, but I literally have created a system that when somebody wants to pick my brain or meet, if I don't know what they need, it's really a waste of their time and my time.
Right.
Right? Like most people, when they say, Katie, can I pick your brain? Honestly, they don't even know what they need.
Right.
Yet.
Right.
So the impact filter, I do this really cool video, and I say it's already created in Loom, and I say, you know, hey, thanks so much for asking to meet with me. I'm really honored, and my coach requires me to complete this impact filter before I meet with him. And at first I was a little put off, but then I realized he's actually just helping me. And so I'm going to encourage you to complete this impact filter and then send it back, and then I'll review it, and I'll be able to help you more efficiently and effectively. And Katie, what do you think the odds are that people don't even complete it?
Oh, very high.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's like, I think like 10% fill it out.
Right.
So 90% of the people aren't even wanting Katie or Kary enough to take 15 minutes to get really clear.
Mm-hmm.
So that would have been a waste of your time.
Right.
So the 10% who do, now they know exactly what they want. And then here's what happens, Katie. 90% of the time, what they exactly want, I have a really good referral who does exactly what they need.
Right. Right.
Right? So like somebody might want to pick your brain, but then they do an impact filter and they're like, you actually need Kasha, or you need Alexandra, like somebody else in your team.
Yep.
Right? And then the final 1% who actually get in to meet with you, it's like magic.
Yeah. When it's also just efficiency, because a lot of times too, they think it's a question that I can answer, but it's really, you know, something totally unrelated to my business, or like it's like you need to talk to someone totally different.
Yeah.
You need this type of help, right? So I think it just helps everybody get on the same page to know what they're expecting and what they need too.
I love that. Or maybe you have this amazing article that you might have written, or you know about it, and you send it to them. The article solves it in 5 minutes for them instead of 50.
Right.
And then, but I mean, these are the things that I think we have to get to as a society, because the other thing, don't you think, Katie, that everyone today is a massive specialist?
Yes.
Like it used to be, hey, I have a health problem and your doctor could help you. Now it's like, my right lung, you know, is having this issue. And it's like, here's exactly who you need to talk. It's pretty crazy.
It's so crazy. Well, and everybody is very hyper focused in that area, right? So if it's anything that's out of that realm, they don't want to touch it either. And it's like, oh, you need to talk to this person first.
Yeah, I fully agree. I think it's that. So check this out. I was at Abundance recently, that Abundance 360 Peter's event. I don't know if I told you the story, but a guy stands up and he's like, 6 weeks ago, I was diagnosed with bone cancer. And he said, but 6 months ago, I started to have symptoms. And I went to doctor after doctor after doctor after doctor, specialist after specialist after specialist. No one could figure out what I had. And finally, a young doctor who kind of just came out of medical college and has more of a generalist perspective, he put a few things together and said, you should probably take this one test. I finally took this test after 6 months, and it turns out I have bone cancer. Then get this. He's an AI specialist. So he said, I didn't tweak my AI agent at all. I just fed in my symptoms, the same thing that I've been searching for 6 months. And in 2 minutes, it said, you might have bone cancer. You need to take this test.
That's wild.
Isn't that
That's
crazy?
unbelievable. Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, I've read an article recently that says if doctors aren't using AI in their medical diagnosis within the next 5 years, it'll be considered malpractice because the doctor can't keep up.
Yeah. Well, and I've even heard if they're not using it already from doctors in the field, like they're really far behind because these tools can just really accelerate treatment and help really pick things up very early.
That's so crazy. So
Yeah.
on that point, Katie, you and I spent a little bit of time pre-show. I want to show two images. One is I used AI to create this image. Okay. So I'm going to explain this image here, but let's talk about this. It's a picture of a dam for those that are listening on audio. It's a picture of a dam, and in the lake above the dam, it has ideas, creativity, and innovation. Then it has a big wall called the USPTO. And then flowing out of the wall, it has patents, trademarks, and copyrights. So the USPTO is not the enemy, but this form of IP protection, can it keep up, Katie, with the explosion of AI that is like every day something's crazy new? What are you thinking?
Yeah, it's interesting. You know, I've seen a lot of articles come out that have suggested, are we getting close to a time when the USPTO might use AI in review of patents to help things go faster?
Yeah.
And to really be able to analyze them much more swiftly. So I think that's interesting.
I think you're totally right. I read something because, you know, you always got me thinking here. Okay, I'm going to show you this article here. I found this last night. This is an article that came out recently that it's exactly what you're saying. So it basically says that the USPTO awards $75 million in an AI contract to Accenture. So this came out,
Oh,
you know,
that's cool. Yeah.
But it came out and it said the USPTO is a 200-year-old federal agency at the cutting edge of technology and innovation that serves as a critical mission in protecting the rights. So I think you are on it. I think I'm not saying it's there yet, but at least they paid the money.
Yeah, I think they're, you know, like most companies, they're figuring out how do we take this tool and implement it into our processes, right? And where do we kind of place that? And we were just talking about that today with you, right? Like how do we take this and modernize our workforce and our procedures to accelerate things much more swiftly?
I think if we don't do that, you know, we're going to be looking back 3 years, 5 years and say, I just got lapped. You know, I got lapped.
Exactly.
You know, and then the last image here, again, I used AI last night. I mean, this would have taken me $500 and an artist to do what took 5 minutes. And the new image here is ideas, creativity, innovation, upstream, and then instant IP is just that little check, but then it accelerates. And I think why it accelerates the flow is because it gives that first fast layer of confidence so that the creator isn't sitting there like, oh crud, should I talk about this? Should I not? Is there something here? Is there not? You know, like it allows them to say, wait, I'm going to timestamp my idea. I'm going to get a smart contract. And now I can go on to the next layer of protection or pitch or investment. So Katie, you know, this is an example of me using AI to create a few images that were in my brain, you know?
That's cool. What sort of prompts did you have to put in to create this image?
I'll tell you what, I'm just going to show you straight up.
Yeah, I'm curious.
Because I am so there with everybody. Like, you know, I think the only way you get good at this is to play with it, you know? And I've talked to my students and I talk about it a lot, but I don't really play with it a lot. So you kind of heard me today saying I'm going to go all in, but I'm just going to show you here. So I started out by saying, okay, so I did Google image a dam.
Okay.
So at first I think there was a different one over here where I, you know, make a picture of a water behind a big dam blocking the water. Within the water, put the words creativity, innovation. The dam should have the wall USPTO, a little pipe with the water from the dam can be pouring out the pipe. So it basically gave me this, which you can see, like, that's not what I wanted. You can see that, you can see that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is more like a reservoir that's dumping, like they didn't get it at all.
Right.
So then I just Google imaged a dam with water. And then I had at least something to tell AI. And you can see the moment I did that, AI is like, oh, I get it, you know?
Yeah,
And
right.
But then again, like they put creativity and innovation as the you know, the dam itself. So like this took a little while because it's not there yet. Like I'd love for BCI, brain computer interface, just for me to like imagine it and then it reads it, you know? So then what I suggest is starting over, throwing the image in, then doing it. And you can see like we're almost there immediately.
Right.
You know? And then I was like, cool, that's one version. Now you got to do a cool one with instant IP. It got that right away. But you know what's interesting is it doesn't always spell the words right. So
really,
oh yeah, look at that.
oh yeah,
Instead of trademarks, it says Zerad marks or something. So we're getting close. But yeah, I got it eventually. But again, like I used to have to meet with a human, and this would have gone back and forth. And then instead of me just delegating, it's like I would have done it anyway with the designer, and then I would have had to pay the designer. So I think we're here, like, you know, very close.
Very close. Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah. So Katie, let's land the plane on the whole backlog. I know we got like 3 minutes left, but don't you think that and help me I'm going to go on ChatGPT when we're done and try to create a new image.
Okay.
All right. So help me think through what image I want to create, but I want to almost show that there's this convergence of AI stealing IP. And we just showed you that before show. Like,
yeah,
Meta just came out where they stole 5 of my books. Okay. So let's call it AI theft. I'm going to write this down. AI theft. And then you have innovation exploding.
Right.
And then you have the USPT backlog. So like what image could I create that like shows these 3 things happening? And then there needs to be this new beginning. I don't know. It's like, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's like AI theft, AI IP theft, innovation, and USPTO backlog. And it creates this singularity event where I'm going to draw this for you, and I'm going to text it to you. But it's almost like this. It's this point. It's a tipping point that then I think, you know, explodes the need for something new.
Yeah, like an inflection point.
Inflection point.
Yeah,
that's cool. See. All right, so we're gonna get ChatGPT to draw that for us, and then we'll share it on the show next week.
I love it. Yeah. Exciting stuff.
Well, Katie, this I think is a fantastic time to be alive. Everyone can get in the game, and I just want to give a big shout out to Caldwell, because Caldwell is, my go-to for traditional IP protection. And right now you have currently a trademark and a patent that you're helping me with. And again, I'm not against traditional forms. I think they play a role, but I think we need to expand it.
I love that. Yep.
Sweet. Well, congrats. We just got a South American offer to be translated in Portuguese. So you brought that in. That was pretty cool.
Very exciting. Yeah. It's interesting to see how different geographical locations are interested in how IP can couple to business strategy. So I think that was very positive feedback to realize that there's not a lot of talk or education on that in some of these other countries around the world too.
I think you're right. I'll plant a seed, Katie, on an upcoming show. My old world was pastor and theology. I recently looked at the Bible through IP, and whoa, I got some crazy stuff to share in next week.
Okay, stay tuned.
All right. Yeah. Okay, everybody, have a great day. Thanks, Katie.